Hello, people. Good news. Today I know we're going to talk about, and it's a decent topic. But first, of course, as per usual, a day recap. Drove out to coffee shop. Not on my own, of course. My mom wasn't home, so got driven out to coffee shop. And that is pretty much what that happened. So, now for the topic. We have two. We got social constructs and the conclusions I've drawn from that. And the second topic is my mindset. So, I guess I'll start with mindset because it's just a lot shorter. Oh, that metal rod is still there. That's cool. Cool moon again, too, still. So, my mindset. I've realized through the refresh that my main goal should be really just adjusting the mindset for adaptation. As I mentioned in many videos, the world is full of flaws that you can't change. You have to learn to get along with it. One example is how I'm picky, and I probably won't ever change. But I realized what I really just want out of why do I see like a second slightly dimmer circle next to the moon? You probably can't see it on camera, but I can. What? The hell? It looks like another empty moon is next to them. Okay, I don't know. That's weird. But yeah. As long as I can get myself to a point where, if needed, I can get through it, then I'm fine. So all I really need to be able to do is accept bad things and put up with things that I can't change. Okay, that circle's gone. That must have been some weird lighting thing over there. That's creepy. Anyways, so second thing, social constructs. I was wondering, why is there no just place for people around my age to meet? And then I realized school. School provides probably 95% of, okay, there's a lot of homeschoolers, 90% of children in the United States place to meet people. And many conclusions branch off from this. So I realized, all right, that makes sense. So there's not really things designed for online school. Oh, except for online school meetups. However, they don't really work because the way social constructs work is communication is formed through a shared experience. For school, it's school. For clubs or sports, it's that club or that sport, the topic of that. Which is why you can make friends at school, because the thing you have in common at school, and you interact with them so often, do a very slightly shared thing, which is school, you eventually build more friendship, which can lead to you discovering other things in common, which leads to better friendships, which leads to stuff beyond that. Now, clubs, they try to snipe this. They put people who know they have a similar interest in the same group. Unfortunately, my online school does not have any clubs which fit my interest. And I realize that is because I don't really have an interest. My interest is really, less of an interest, more of a skill. You could have an interest. Like, I love the SR-71. There is not going to be an SR-71 club. And I don't have a skill in SR-71. I can't fly it. I can't maintain it. So, the only real skill I realized is gaming. But in a digital surface, anything online, primarily gaming, you would do that online. Like if you go to a gaming convention, sure, for cosplay or announcements, but that's not a place to meet people, really. If the platform you're using in this application is online, then the best place to do it is online. You're already going to meet people who are already doing that. And it's probably designed to do that anyways, like Discord. So doing that in person just kind of takes away from the entire idea of it being online. It's stupid. So that's one thing I realized. I don't really have that many interests, technically. I have things I like, but not a broad interest I can apply to other people, aside from gaming, which is online, and the idea is I'm trying to meet people in real life, which doesn't really work with gaming. So that's unfortunate. And then I realized, I tried to think, like, what are other things in person to meet people? And like I said, shared experience. The most recent one I did, or only one I did, was the Everything Under the Rainbow meetup for homeschoolers or online schoolers. And see, the shared experience there is homeschool or online school. But, as mentioned before, how school has a very mild impact on what you share in common. And rather, you're surrounding each other so often that you build relationships based on other things you have in common. Same thing there. Online school / homeschool was hardly ever brought up at that meetup. Thus, we were people around the same age there primarily for the focus of meeting them. And that is what works. If you go to a thing with a topic like bowling to meet people, it won't work. Because the idea is bowling, not meeting people. So if I don't have that thing in common with them, like bowling, I can't meet them. My mom, she doesn't seem to understand how social things work. She said, oh, our neighbor's out. He's around your age. He's like probably 17 or 18, so, 15, 17, same thing. And he was fixing his bike, as he does occasionally. And he said, oh, look, it's out there. You can go talk to him. Then I was like, so just go up and say, hey, I don't know about bikes. Like, if you were out in your driveway fixing your bike, suppose that you're into bikes, and someone just came up to you and just said, hey, how's your day? Like, just walked out of their house, walked across the street, like 40 feet, directly to you, and started talking to you. That's just weird, first of all. And second of all, if it's made apparent that you only did that because your mom told you to, because you have no friends, that's even weirder. And if you tell them that directly, it sounds like you're only telling them that because you want to make it apparent that you want to get this over with as fast as possible, because the only reason you're here is because your mom made you to. Otherwise, it's just awkward. It's awkward anyway, and it doesn't work. There's no shared experience. That is like the exact opposite of a shared experience. You should watch Shorts by Etymology Nerd. He breaks this down very well with many examples. Just watch his shorts on social constructs and similar things like conversation. 2 cats. So yeah, there's not really a place to do that except for school. Here's the problem. American schools absolutely flippin' suck. So in other schools, it's fine. But America, the reason you can't meet people elsewhere is because primarily kids are in school. But the problem is, school sucks. You see the problem there? To meet people, you have to do something that sucks. It's kind of dumb, right? So unfortunately, me and many others are left in the dust. And then I also had a thought, stemming additionally from this entire chain of thought. How are the kids who go to school but don't have friends? That's just a skill issue, right? Like, you just got to be that weird. I mean, I get, okay, oh, well, there's another example. I didn't really have any friends when I was in school. That was a crunchy water bottle. Holy crap. So there's where the problem delves even worse. It's built for common kids. So those who are weird like me, you could say the majority are neurodivergent. Where do they go? A neurodivergent, okay, that's actually what the Everything Under the Rainbow meetup was, is a school for neurodivergent kids. So that actually kind of would be ideal. But I prefer online school anyways. So I would remain to online school, although I do suppose that'd be a good option. I have been thinking about it, but I still prefer online school. I think it just works better for me. And I guess that is the one exception. It's a better schooling system, and it's better for people like that to meet. So the problem is, I got lucky with one being 20 minutes away from my house. Most likely you aren't going to find one nearby. It's not common. So, let's hypothesize. Would that fix the problem? Would multiple schools fix the problem of people who are somewhat weird like me being able to meet other people without having a common interest, just meeting them in general and making friends? I think yes. If it was easily accessible, especially online, well, yeah, that wouldn't work, because, no, I guess it could. Problem is, my online school meetups have just always been really poorly planned and not really well done, so they don't work out. But if the meetups are done well, through online school, even if you're not neurodivergent, like, I can still talk to normal people perfectly fine. Then, if the idea is a meetup with something added on, you can't just go to a place like, oh god, one time they actually did that. It was me and 3 other girls, and the entire idea was just go there and do something. There was nothing to do. It was unplanned. So we just sat around. They brought like a board game that I didn't really like. It kind of sucked. We didn't really talk a lot, because that's the problem. You have to have a well-balanced central idea. If it's minuscule enough, like a meet and greet, or no, that's not the right term, a chatting something at a pizza place, the pizza is what unites you all. There's something to do, but it doesn't take up the aspect of it, like the whole thing. If it's something like bowling, I don't know why I'm using such a boring example, but sure, then you can share the experience of bowling. You know, you're both bowlers, you're like, oh, cool, you really did that. Oh, how did you do that? And then you bond through that, and it builds. And then when you're not bowling, you have conversation. So some parts of it, like the bowling, actually builds connections. Then out of that you talk, but you're connected well, so it works out together, and you have something to do in common. But something like a board game, you can't really discuss the board game. Like, sure, there are things in the board game, but honestly, it wasn't even a good one, like aggravation. But board game isn't a thing you say, hey, want to go out and play aggravation together? No, that's not a thing you just go out and do. No one's just a board game addict and you just go out and find the other board game addicts and go to Board Game Central and rent a room to play board game. They don't do that. That's not a thing you can commune in person with. You could, but that's like a house party sort of thing, not a rent a location or do a thing, pay like a room at Stars and Strikes sort of thing. So that fails. And if there's nothing to meet on, just talk to them. Well, nothing starts that, and especially if you have nothing in common. Then you just have awkward small talk. And if you're driving half an hour out to have this awkward small talk, it's even more awkward because you just wasted your time and your gas and your money and your effort just to talk to someone, but you can't really have something to talk about. See these failures? So you have to have one thing, which is either small enough to unite you, but give you something to talk about. It's give you something to do as you figure out what to talk about, like eating pizza, or big enough to where it's a general hobby that multiple people could do, and you get together to do that thing, and otherwise, be friends. So clubs do that latter thing. I'll go this way, actually. Yeah, there's something there. So, problem is, no good clubs in my online school. Okay, so the problem isn't really with the world. I mean, partially. There are things we could do to improve it. But the primary problem is my situation. My online school doesn't have any good meetup events, and they don't have any good clubs. I suppose that could be fixed. But then again, partially my side, my interests. Like I said, I lack one that really fits. And honestly, even past the refresh... Oh, I completely forgot the entire thing. Okay. So, Christianity, Bible study, not necessarily Bible study, but youth group, a place for like-minded and similar-aged teenagers to meet, and there's one somewhat small thing, they're all Christians, and there's something to do, which is study the Bible and do whatever activity they have, but otherwise, they can communicate. Very well done. Problem. Last time I went there, which was many years ago, to be fair, so I'm going to try it again recently, or soon, not recently, that implies past tense, or it can also apply present tense, I suppose. But anyways, I'm going to try it again because last time there was people of like much younger than me age groups, and it was really not organized, and it was just kind of bad. See, here's another aspect of that. On the topic of small thing to commune about versus large thing, which you all have in common, you have to give room for communing, like bowling. You bowl, go, oh wow, how'd you do that, and talk a little bit, and then when it's their turn to bowl, come back and you talk to each other. Get it? Or if it's something that you can't do that, at the end you can talk to each other and say, hey, I want to do this. At a board game, you can't say, hey, that was fun, want to play this board game again later? No, what? You don't ask for their number to do that. That's not a thing. So that's where the problem lies. You have to have a well-designed social construct. So something like gaming, which unfortunately is online. Once you finish a game, you go, yeah, it's a really good game, man. And then you add them to play later, or keep playing. You can do a rematch with them. And throughout the game, if it's casual and you're not thinking really hard or strategizing, you can talk to each other about just random things. Well, I think that's like probably the majority of gaming. I'd say most of the time when I'm playing with someone, we're talking about other things. There's a conversation. You get there to play the game. If anything, it's almost like a mix of those two things. The small thing to commune, but also the large thing to commune. The large thing is gaming. We all have that in common, and we all come there to do that. That's all what we unite to do. But it's also a small thing in the sense that, yes, we all came there to do it, and that's something we all have directly in common, but that's going to be a small aspect of it. If it's casual, it's just a little aspect of the conversation we're having. So gaming is honestly genius in terms of meeting people. Problem is, it's online. So unless you learn to play D&D, which you can't really converse during that too, because you have to stay in character. So you're heavily focused on the large aspect of it the whole time, but that can also be good. So if you're really into something that requires full attention on that one thing the entire time, entirely, 100%, that's still good, because you get so into it with each other that at the end, you should, unless you're stupid, try to get their number or way of communicating, or have a schedule, follow some schedule with events that you will meet in the future, because you enjoyed that and you want to do that again. Versus something like a board game in which there is no incentive to come back and do that again. So that was I'd say relatively simplistic. You could go much further into the psychological and subconscious aspects of it, but that was the general idea of how people can meet people. And that was only really teenagers, not for young kids or for adults. I mean, the similar concepts still probably apply to adults, but for someone like me who's 15, almost 16 to be fair, I think that's how it works. I think that dives into pretty much everything. School, keep people with no friends, how to meet people if you don't have school, clubs, interests. So I think I got kind of unlucky. I want to stay on the online school, but the clubs and activities they have are bad. And there's no interest I have that I can be applied in real life elsewhere. That's not a problem, really. Okay, like sports. That's an easy one. Join a team somewhere. That's not too hard, right? Or, like, you can pretty much, if you do soccer, you can just look around soccer place near you. Some school can accept you or something, I don't know. I don't do sports, I don't like sports. But, like, if I had an interest in, say, I think rock collecting is too niche. Even if there was an organization for that, it'd be pretty hard to get together. Photography. It's not very easy to just go out and find a photography group and get a bunch of teens to get to this one hike location and all do photography in that place. It's kind of difficult to organize schedule-wise and child humanity-wise, teen labor laws and kind of stuff. So the system's pretty difficult unless you do a major thing like sports gaming, which is online. Sports gaming. Even like a band. I don't think you could very easily find a band, and typically they're attributed to a school. If you don't go to school because you do online school, then there's your problem. So I suppose it varies depending on where you are, who you are, and what system you have. But overall, I'd say I'm not in the best situation. Could be better. Go try and meet people when I'm 16, maybe go to parks, coffee shops, hopefully talk to people somehow. I don't know. Social skills also play a big role. If you're actually good at talking to people, it helps. If you're bad at talking to people, it's pretty hard to talk to people. Bet you didn't know that. So God bless. Hope you learned something. And as always, adios, mi amigos and amigas.